Hey y'all, it's Nomadic Shaman here. Thank you for visiting my page. Your girl has been incognito for about a couple of weeks now. One is I had to take some time to rest, recuperate. I was working too hard, so I needed a break. And then the other part is, unfortunately, I had to attend a funeral in Massachusetts, y'all. So in short, that's what happened. Um, but let's just go ahead and jump into it. Now we are in 2025. The first thing that I wanted to share with you all is my field trip, road trip, y'all. And of course, I'm being facetious, I'm being sarcastic as fuck. Was, I had someone in my family pass away, and I went to the funeral in Massachusetts, and your girl drove up there. Okay, I drove up there from Virginia. That was about what, 7 hours, some change, and I did it by myself and back. And although the experience was cool, and I noticed and discovered that Connecticut is gorgeous, your girl's never doing that again. At least not by herself. But it was nice. The ride was nice. It was chill for the most part. But anyways, let's just continue, right? So, it should be no secret. It's 2025. Your girl is still being gang stalked, heavily monitored, spied, stalked on. It's multiple choices up in this bitch. Just go ahead and circle all of them because all of them is relevant. And then, of course, the spell work comes in. It's unfortunate, but I've just chalked it up as another day in the life, right? And so it's no different. Your girl went on a road trip to, a family member's funeral, and they didn't let up. Okay, literally, with the second week of July, they were doing spell work to my crown chakra, to my third eye. They were sending evil eyes all the way up to my first rest point. And I guess these people forgot that I'm a medium. And when I say I literally am always surrounded by spirit, that is no exaggeration. Okay, I'm always in communication with them. Most of the time, well, when I tap in, sometimes they just bogart their way in, especially when it comes to having to warn me. So this was no different. They informed me that they were members of the coven that took that field trip with me, took that road trip with me. I suspected that that would probably be the case, but it was confirmed when I started getting headaches, really, really, really bad headaches at the rest stop. And so, for me, I'm able to distinguish what it is. When I get headaches, it can be a variety of things. Um, Evil eye, demons, jinns being sent, or when people are doing spell work, depending on the location, I'm able to determine whom the attack was coming from. So at this point, I had identified it was a coven member. This person, these people, it's like they don't care at this point. It's just like, I know, like, fuck it. Who are we faking for at this point? You know? But they legit parked at a rest stop. And so they were driving up doing spell work. And then they parked, was doing spell work at me, throwing at the crown chakra and the third eye chakra. And then y'all, I just went in. I got at the rest stop. I went to eat and relieve myself. Y'all, I took a piss. I need to use the bathroom. And then I ate. And I came back and this person was still in her car. At this point, she had turned her light off, or she had already turned her light off. She was in her car, just sitting and doing spell work. And it was like around maybe between 10 and 11 at night. So that's when one of my spiritual, people on my spiritual team hit me up to game and was just like, that car, they're doing spell work. And so they were like, what you want to do about it? And at that point, I was tired. I was so tired. Tired of, well, physically tired because of drive, but I was just fatigued. So without going too much into it, we handled that situation and it no longer became an issue. But that's when my guides were telling me, well, you have 2 more cards that are following you. And I'm like, follow me? Okay. What am I going to do with that? But as long as they're not actively doing spell work, then we ain't got no issues. Okay. Or they won't have any issues. Okay. So, there's that, y'all. So I finally made it to Massachusetts, and there was somebody there waiting on me. And so at this point, I just like seek them out. Oh, that's that one. That's that one. Because I'm just like, do you guys not go out of your way to behave as normal as possible? It's like they stick out. It's either they stick out like a sore thumb, or I've been undergoing this whole gang stalking mess and these covens, these damn witches and warlocks and occultists throwing all types of spell work at me. It's just like, I can just tell. It's just a knowing. Okay. And if I'm ever uncertain about it, Spirit will jump in and say, okay, do you want us to handle it or do you? So that's the point where I'm at right now. Okay. Fuck the banishing I reserve for demons and jinns. But now when it comes to people as in occultists, warlocks, witches, and practitioners who do spell work on me, I handle it differently. Okay. Yeah. Okay, depending on my mood. So anyways, so pretty much, did the whole funeral service. I even did the burial site. People still following me throughout the day. In fact, I went to, I think it was like it wasn't quite dinner, but it was like a lunch with one of my cousins. And here we are, we're sitting. And there was this elderly woman. She looked like she was in her 60s. And she sat to the right of us. And she had no chill. Like, this chick literally pulled out her phone and started taking pictures of me. She either took pictures of me or took a video. I think it was pictures because of how she had it. But the outside of the camera was facing me. To the point where my cousin was just like, yo, cuz, that's weird. Is she taking pictures of us? And I don't know if this is good, bad, or indifferent, or what. But it was just like, yeah, girl, that's just part of my life. I literally did it like that. I was just like, yeah, cuz, I'll fill you in later. I didn't tell her what was going on with me. I didn't think it was the appropriate time. We had just came from a funeral service. I'm like, yeah, cuz, I'll go ahead and I'll fill you in. But this has become my everyday life. Like, the woman literally, we were sitting in a restaurant, pulled out her camera, her phone, and started filming me or taking pictures. Spirit is telling me taking pictures. And then she would text, I guess, reporting to whomever wanted to know what I was doing at that time. And for those who may not know, at least I can't speak for anybody else's circumstance, only for mine. Generally, pictures are taken for me or of me to do spell work on, pass over to the coven, pass over to witches, warlocks, and practitioners, and the occultists to have a recent photo of me to do spell work. Okay, that's what I know of the pictures that are being taken. But legit, she was doing that. So I'm like, okay, since we taking pictures, let me go ahead and pull out my phone. And I took a picture of her. Okay. So there's that. And not only that, Spirit gave me her government name. So thank you. Okay. First and last. Anyways, and y'all don't test me. Don't test me or don't question my gifts on whether or not I'm able to identify someone's government name first and last, because we can easily do a roll call up in this bitch. Okay. But anyways, moving onward. So that's what happened, y'all. It was just another day. It was just another day for me. And I think the following day, what happened on the following day? Following day still followed. What I thought was different was one of my cousin's houses, who I happen to stay over, let's just say I have a neighbor, or she has a neighbor now that they've put on payroll to watch me every single time I go and visit her. Okay, whenever I come out, all of a sudden she's coughing, she's coming out, and she needs a cigarette. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this woman has been on the payroll. As if that's not enough, they put something behind my tire. And I was just like, Spirit, why would they do something like that? It's like legit. It looked like they marked the street, marked the area, either out of stone or chalk, put a battery behind it. And the intention was for me to not see it and to drive past it or drive on it, to flatten my tire, to bust my tire, causing an accident. That didn't happen. Luckily, that didn't happen, right? But things of that sort, pretty much all week or the whole time I was up there, I was being followed. One thing, one of my baby cousins, who was actually 3 or 4, what do they say? Out of the mouth of babes. He literally said, hey, look at that car. Does your car flash lights like this? Like that? And I said, like what? And here I am looking at a car and it's looking straight at us. The camera is pointed straight at us. I could see the back of the camera position straight where we were eating. And it had its emergency lights on. And so that was, I felt like that was Spirit communicating through him, letting me know that, hey, you got another fan. You're being watched. Apparently, I was being watched and followed to, what was it? Spirit told me members of this, nope, not CIA, members of the FBI, possible CIA, but definitely FBI, Homeland Security, that was a new one, that was different. Okay, they're telling me yes, some members of CIA were there. They told me CIA, private investigator, FBI, and Homeland Security, all for your girl. All for your girl. There were times where basically any house that I went to, they followed me there, and they made it, let's see, they didn't hide it. They were very apparent. There was this one woman in particular who drove. I was visiting my aunt and uncle. They live in a cul-de-sac. This woman drove all the way down, gonna turn around and park right there. She parked. I stayed in my car for a bit. I finally get out. I'm staring this car down. She drives up. She sees me staring. She noticed that I was staring at her from the onset. And she goes, "Is everything okay, bitch?" This is, mind you, she doesn't live in the neighborhood. She's following me and notices I'm staring her down, and then parks because she doesn't want, I guess she doesn't want to make it obvious, and then asks me, "Is everything okay?" That's funny. That's hilarity at best. Um, so that was my trip. That was my trip. On my way back, you know, they were sending heart attack spells. I could tell they were also sending death spells. I've grown accustomed to what they feel like when they send them to me. So they were sending death spells, they were sending heart attack spells, trying to hit evil eye. That's another one. Shock, hitting up different shocker points. As soon as I got back in to Virginia, y'all, as soon I didn't even get home yet, but as soon as I entered Virginia, I felt the attacks instantly, y'all. So that was my trip. That was my trip. With funerals, it's like bittersweet. It feels like a family reunion, just like with a gray cloud over it. But nevertheless, the upside was I was able to see a lot of family that I hadn't seen in a while, you know. But then it's also, the sadness, the grieving or sad component to it. But yeah, y'all. So I'm back, and I just wanted to share with you what my field trip, road trip was like, y'all. And just a little bit off topic slash on topic. Um, I've heard some people speak on the whole gang stalking, specifically on, you should move, 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 move. And to get away from it. But what I've come to realize is, having gone through this, 5 years and some change, I realized that my experience, me moving, would just simply be me running away from myself. When I say that, is shadow aspects of myself, because I feel that this whole experience, nothing's in vain. You're meant to gain some type of information, lesson, knowledge, and wisdom from every experience, every contact that you have is an opportunity to gain wisdom. And I'm also realizing that this is no different. And aside from that, it's me traveling to all of these different areas and moving to all of these different areas and still being followed and still being gang stalked, and knowing that government resources are being used to keep up with my whereabouts. It makes it very challenging to escape this whole gang stalking campaign or experience, at least from the physical aspect. And what I've come to realize is to go out, to get out, is to go within. And when I say within, I'm talking about spiritually, y'all. Okay. So, one of the reasons why I say that is because just me watching videos on YouTube, there are people that are all over, outside of the US, in different parts of the world that are going through this as well. different parts of the world. So I think partly to escape this would be to manifest yourself out, but that would be going from within. And of course, we all have divine timing is at play for this, right? Things do not always happen on my timing. And I also understand that timelines can change. We all know that, right? Timelines can change. I say that because I do give out prophetic messages, and spirit will tell me this is supposed to happen at this particular day, but they'll give me the date and the time, okay, of when certain things are supposed to take place, at least at that time. But at the time that they give me, but I've also come to realize is not come to realize, but I've come to accept. Of course, energy is fluid, and one minor change in one's behavior can completely change the timeline and or paradigm of a particular prophecy, okay? So that's another thing that I'm learning, because I tend to be very, how do I say it? Now I'm on a tangent, but I try my best to be as accurate as possible. But I realize that because there's so many variables at play, it's hard. It's hard to be that. It's hard to do that. But that's one of the things that I pride myself on is my accuracy when it comes to prophetic messages. This is me talking to myself more so now than anything. I'm rambling at this point. But I say all that to say is with me going through this experience, it is challenging, but to always try my best to remain positive in spite of, and when information that I'm given that doesn't come out on the date and time that was told to me, that I need to accept it. That's just more so for me. But this video was just to share my experience on my road trip, y'all. So anyways, on to the next. I'll see you on the other side.